Good morning, YouTube. It's August. I'm sorry, it's September. I wish it was still August. It's September 16th, 2021, Thursday. I am on my way to Bullock's, and hopefully I will get there early enough for breakfast. It's 10:46, so generally speaking, they stop serving breakfast at... Oh, wait a minute, I got plenty of time. What am I thinking? They open at 11. They stop serving breakfast at noon. So I'll probably get there right as soon as they unlock the doors. I'm good. I'm like an hour earlier than I thought it was. This is fabulous. I don't know why I'm still so sleepy. That's mostly all I've been doing is laying in bed since I got back from picking up my gear at the Union Jack. I did drop off my PA over at my storage. No point in having that stuck in the car. In fact, part of me wanted to kind of hang out at the Union Jack longer. Not that I was really socializing with anybody, but it just felt comfortable, and was able to work on files. Although for some reason my Cox wireless hotspot wasn't logging in. I haven't been able to get on their Wi-Fi there. But I've always got plenty of files to sort and convert, even if I don't have internet access where I have my computer hooked up. So it's not like I'm not going to be productive. I kind of, as 6 o'clock approached, I was like, wow, I need to kind of hustle and get my stuff packed up, or I won't be able to unload it at U-Store, which I still call Packet Store 90% of the time. I don't deal well with name changes. The gate, the automated gate to get into U-Store, it doesn't let anybody in after 7 o'clock. And generally speaking, the manager walks the grounds around right about 7, just to make sure everybody's gone. So always good to be done whatever I gotta get done before 7. And yesterday, Beth, the manager there, definitely didn't need any additional stress after her day yesterday. Felt so bad for her. My day yesterday started with a pretty mean hangover from having a little bit too much fun Tuesday night, and was kind of laying in bed. I was actually awake already. I got up and one of those, oh Lord, where are my phones? Where are my pants? Kind of moments. That's never a good morning. Another night, girlfriend didn't touch me at all. So, that's happening again. And that's fine. Play stupid games, play stupid prizes. I've got other plans for the weekend that don't include her. So, whatever. I got up and I just barely got my phone plugged in, and of course it was completely dead. The iPhone was. I'm not sure if the Obama phone had a charge on it or not. Half the time I just ignore that thing. What do you call it? I'm still groggy today. Oh gosh. I need to wake the hell up. I think breakfast today is going to include a Coca-Cola instead of a Bloody Mary, because I need to wake the hell up. That guy's marching kind of slow. So anyway, I'm laying in bed. My phone had just barely powered up, and I hadn't really done anything with it. I'm just kind of laying in bed. been taking like one painkiller, and I'm mostly just laying in bed, wishing I could just fall back asleep because I feel like death. And hangovers are a little tougher to deal with now that I'm in my 50s than they were, in my 20s or 30s or 40s, for that matter. Anyway. Wow, I was just like mentioning that, and I'm just remembering like when I was in my late 30s, I had figured out kind of a magical way to never have hangovers, because I used to drink pretty heavy every night and every morning get up to do contract transportation for Child Protective Services. And sometimes I was a little groggy, but I was never hungover, and I don't drink like that now, so I kind of forgot about it. But yeah, what I used to always do is get a 32-ounce G2, the Gatorade 2 without the sugar. And I would just force myself to pound that the whole thing before I went to sleep. And 90% of the time, even if I had to wake up in just a few hours, I wouldn't have any pain, wouldn't have a hangover, nothing. And that was back when I used to drink a lot of rum. So, gosh, maybe I need to get back in that habit. The nights that I'm buzzed. Anyway, so I'm laying in bed, headache. God, I've just got such a great skill of telling a 2-minute story in like 10 minutes. And on that note, rest in peace, Norm Macdonald. So laying in bed, hungover, bad amounts of pain, head just pounding, and feeling borderline nauseous. And that guy's got to come over. I get a call. I'm actually kind of surprised I answered it, because it was on a phone number I didn't recognize. Like, it didn't have a name attached to it from my contact list. Yeah. Most of the time, those are telemarketing calls. I think everybody gets calls from that robot informing them that their car warranty's expired. And being that I drive an 06 Saturn, that's just hysterical. So anyway, I answer the phone call because I figure there's a chance it could be somebody at the Union Jack asking why all my stuff is still there. Because I'm sure the morning staff wasn't really expecting all my stuff to still be on the stage. And I'm also thinking it might be, and I didn't really ask for permission to do that ahead of time, just kind of did it. I'm also thinking it might be, possibly somebody, I put a lot of cards out there, I've been doing a lot of networking, so possibly a new job offer. So in spite of the fact that I feel like death warmed over, I still, felt like I needed to answer the phone and put my, be ready to sell myself if needed, or make excuses if needed. This guy in the white truck is going way too slow for my taste. I like this song a lot. Anyway, it's Beth, and she's so panicked and talking so frantically. Just, oh my God, it's flooding and it's affecting your units, and I'm trying to get her to explain which units, which that was a little difficult. And the funny thing with her is, of course, she always, when she goes to identify units, she does it by unit number. And for me, numbers, they're all the same numbers. I do pretty good about remembering, like, Phoenix street numbers, and I've kind of got a system for that, which one of these days I'm going to make a video and explain it. But there's a numerical pattern to it, which I memorized when I was a little kid. And then kind of got it extra drove home when I first started driving as a taxi driver in the early 90s for Yellow Cab. And I may as well sum it up right now, since I can't seem to focus on my story. In the center of town, everything's kind of spaced the same. You've got a quarter mile north-south, thoroughfare of sorts at 3rd Avenue and 3rd Street. You've got the first, half mile out from Central on each side, major mile roads of 7th Avenue and 7th Street. And that's where the numbering changes. And at first, it used to always really confuse me when I was a kid because I couldn't understand why it wouldn't be the same going out. Like, you got 7th Street and 7th Avenue. Why is it not 19th Avenue and 19th Street? Why was it 19th Avenue and 16th Street? And of course, I learned the avenues first because I lived on the west side as a kid. Initially, when I was a little kid, my folks had a place at around 27th Avenue and Lincoln Street. Lincoln Drive is not on the west side. On 27th Avenue and Lincoln Street, which is a really scary neighborhood now. I don't think it was that bad when I was a little kid, but I was a little kid, so my perspective of such things were kind of skewed. Around kindergarten, I don't know, I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. My folks got a house in Glendale in a place that is now a terrible neighborhood, but at the time was actually a really nice, fairly recently built middle class, solidly middle class neighborhood. And these are people buying new and recently built houses. It's nice. In my memories of the area are just that it was a really, really nice neighborhood. And I've confirmed that with other people that live there. It's like, oh yeah, that was actually a very nice neighborhood in the 70s. Because it's extreme ghetto now, and it has been for decades. But anyway, in the area of about 55th Avenue, between Camelback and Missouri. I forget the exact name of the street I lived on. I want to say Georgia, but it's been a long time since I've driven through that. But I think I lived on Georgia. Anyway, so that was the second house I remember living in with my parents as a little kid, and that's where I was living when my folks split up, which was kind of at the end of my kindergarten year. So didn't live there very long, unfortunately. And my folks kind of moved around quite a bit after that, but I do remember my dad having an apartment at off Dunlap, just off of 35th Avenue. And then it wasn't long after that I learned the reason that he moved towards that end of town, because he was sleeping with my mom's best friend, who was married. And her husband had a house, which I believe my dad still owns. Acquisition by marriage is such a wonderful thing. And that was near 35th Avenue and Cactus. So I mean, this is where I lived as a young child who had fascination with streets, and where I learned the street numbers from driving through them. I mean, I'm regularly between, say, 67th Avenue and 19th Avenue growing up. But I occasionally got to go downtown, 7th Street, 7th Avenue, but I rarely went east of 7th Street, and when I did, it was usually on the freeway, so I didn't get to see every major street and the layouts of them. But at some point in grade school, I did notice that, hey, the numbers are different on the east side, and always was curious why it is. And to be honest, I didn't figure that out until I was a young adult. That the numbering in the half mile after 7th, going east and going west, is inconsistent. As such, the next half mile streets out are 15th Avenue on the west side and 12th Street on the east side. And from that point, it's very, very consistent. It's always 4 blocks every half mile. And I said earlier, it's really brilliant that they did it that way. And I always wondered if it was intentional. My gut feeling is it probably wasn't, but it's worked out nice, because what that means is from 15th Avenue out and from 16th Avenue out, all thoroughfares on the west side are odd numbers. Like right here, 27th Avenue. Oh yeah, we owned a blade. 27th Avenue, odd number. And all thoroughfares as you go east are even numbers. Like the equivalent distance out on the east side is 24th Avenue. Or sorry, 24th Street. My bad. And when you're navigating, even off the major, the major mile streets, which are the stroads like this, you'll find still, like, because of that numbering system, like on the west side, every odd number is at a quarter mile, and on the east side, every even number is a quarter mile. And I'm talking beyond 12th Street, beyond 15th Avenue. So those tend to be the ones that go through. Like past 27th Avenue, you've got 29th Avenue. Not a major street, but most of 29th Avenue does go through the neighborhood. Next one out is 31st Avenue. That's a half-mile road. That is a thoroughfare which will get you across most of town. It doesn't cross all the canals, but because that of course requires building bridges, which are expensive. But generally speaking, it goes through, and it'll kind of divide neighborhoods, as that's how the original land plots were divvied up. And that numbering pattern continues, like, infinitely. Now granted, it's a little different when you get into Tempe. Scottsdale, by the way, is not different, but it is different, in Tempe and Mesa and Gilbert, as those suburbs all have their own numbering system. But yeah, the rest of Maricopa County and everything that uses the Maricopa County numbering system, those numbers continue. And what really drove it home was when I first started driving for Yellow Cab. When I drove for Yellow Cab, all dispatching was done via two-way radio. And I need to go by that cell phone store. I keep forgetting about that. So anyway, it was basically the way the dispatch at Yellow Cab worked then is, not going into too much detail because I have such a tendency to do that. They would basically call two stand locations, and what a stand was a place where a cab driver could sit when they didn't have a call. They would call two stand locations and then say around or cab around. At that point, if you were near those two stands, just say your number and they would repeat the number of whoever they felt they heard first, whoever they wanted to hear, and then you needed to be ready to write at that very second, because as soon as they said your number, you would basically come back with your number, so they knew that you heard them, and then they would say the address. You needed to be ready to write it down, and it would be abbreviated in the shortest way possible, because there was a lot of calls to put out, and Yellow Cab was busy, and most of the time it was dispatched on a single channel. But anyway, the way most stands were abbreviated. Now, some were said by their location, which for me, those are the most difficult ones to learn, but I learned them pretty quick, such as Valley Bank, Contiki, Metro Center. Didn't take me any time to learn that. That was my neighborhood. But other ones were a combination of the numbered street or avenue that they were at, and a shortened version of the cross street where the cab stand was. Like I do remember one that was constantly called was 16th Street in Campbell, and they would just say 16 Campbell. Very rarely would they say street; they would say 16. And you quickly learned that if it was an even number, they were talking on the east side, and if it was an odd number, they were talking on the west side. The only notable exception, and they would always say it, they would never say just the number, would be 28th Drive and Cactus. And they would say 28th Drive and Cactus. And yeah, 28th Drive is one of the weird anomalies of that whole system. It's an even number, and it's not even an avenue, it's a drive. Whatever city planners decide to make that a thoroughfare, fuck you. Anyway, yeah, because it doesn't follow the rest of the numbering system or location system, because it's not on a It's not on an even quarter-mile marker. It is where 28th Drive should be. Just for some reason in that part of town, north of Metro Center, it's a thoroughfare. Anyway, I'm ready for some breakfast, and I wasn't going to go into detail on that, and I totally did. And so I didn't finish the story about the frantic call from Beth at Pack and Store. Suffice it to say, she was freaking out. She thought there was major flooding. She didn't remember exactly which units were mine. And of course, she was really rough at describing which they were, because she's trying to tell me by number, and I don't know numbers. And the numbers she was giving me were going to be wrong anyway, because those weren't my units. I opened the 3 units that I have near where she said where the flooding was, and the flooding had already gone away at this point. And she'd shut off, like, I guess a pipe had burst, and she shut off water to the pipe, so that's a good thing. Yeah, from what I could tell, my two of my units that were near it, that are next to each other, didn't get any water at all, and the one unit that did get some water is a really small amount, just at the bottom. It didn't look like it went in far. I don't think there's anything of value down there. It looked like it just got a little water on the bottom of a bunch of old computers that I should have thrown away years ago. So I'm just like, Beth, calm down. Everything's fine. There's nothing here I give a shit about. If it was important, it wouldn't be here. But yeah, that's how I woke up. And of course, she's just like going off and just stressing and just blah, 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 blah. And just like, I have a poundy hangover headache. I'm like, Beth, stop. You're good. Just, well, I don't know how to get, then if those aren't your units, I don't know how to get a hold of the people who have those units. And I'm like, you know what? If they haven't given you their contact information, if they haven't updated their phone number with you, or haven't given you a current email address to contact them with, that's on them. They obviously don't care that much about their shit that's down there. Let it go. Don't worry about it. I did see her open up 2 of the units that she had to use the lock to because of the way they're laid out. And I did see the wooden butt of a vintage rifle soaking up water, and I expect that is going to be pretty much ruined. But it's kind of on whoever put that there. I mean, that's always a possibility. There's going to be some rainwater that seeps in, just even without flooding. Like, there's a possibility of rainwater during a monsoon seeping in, and I always kind of lay my storage units out in anticipation of that. So I mean, my God, a vintage rifle, what you got that on the ground for anyway? That should be up on a shelf. I mean, hell, something like that I wouldn't even have in storage. I'd have that at home. But I don't know why she insisted I'd be there to watch her open those, but I guess, I don't know, CYA move on her part. Anyway, I'm going in. I'm getting breakfast. Hope you learned a little something about the numbers of Phoenix streets. I hope that's of interest to somebody other than me. Yeah, it does make knowing that, even though I'm not a cab driver anymore, it does make navigating a little easier, and knowing how far things are apart, because I can divide by 8 in my head. And of course, it doesn't doesn't go across like the major. It doesn't go across between 15th Avenue and 12th Street, but I can always count those in my head as well. Anyway, I'm going in for breakfast. Thanks for watching.